Tonight on Ctv3 News, Belizeans to head out to the polls on March 12, 2025, the date set for general election. PM Briceño confident after economic turnaround, but is government facing a legal battle amid calls for redistricting? And House meeting resolves $50 million debt write-off for KHMH as part of the Free Public Hospital Initiative. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Tuesday, February 11th, 2025.
Really? You not switch yet? No what? I tell you. I don't.
You used to call me on my cell phone late night just to stay in touch. Call me on my cell phone, cause our connection used to mean so much. And I know when that thought line bling, February's got that love to bring. Yeah, I know when that thought line bling, Smart is giving you everything. These days all I do is wonder if you're still connected with somebody else. Wonder why you're missing out on what's best for yourself. You could have had more, but you're still stuck with them. You don't need no one else, you don't need nobody else. So it's time to switch up and run, cause Smart's the best in the land. They got the top speed and the best service for your phone. You should just switch to them, it's Smart or no one else. You used to call me on my cell phone.
Good evening. With your news, also Samukai on Fiesta FM 106.7. I am Joanna Rodriguez. After weeks of intense speculation, Prime Minister John Briceño has finally set a date for the 2025 general election. Belizeans across the country will be heading to the polls on Wednesday, March 12th, exactly 30 days from today. The announcement came today in a televised statement by Prime Minister and leader of the People's United Party, Honorable John Briceño, who was flanked by the 30 standard bearers who will be contesting the upcoming elections. In his statement this morning, Prime Minister Briceño recalled the state of the country 4 years ago when his government took over. At that time, the PM says the country was in a state of virtual bankruptcy, with public sector wages frozen, high unemployment, and a shrinking economy. 4 years of prudent fiscal management and leadership have resulted in a massive turnaround for the country, with Belizeans now earning higher wages and benefiting from economic expansion driven by private sector investment and responsible public spending. With a legacy of great work, PM Briceño says he is confident of the days ahead as his party seeks the support of the Belizean people to continue in the work started in 2020.
4 years ago, you gave our party and I the privilege of forming your government. Looking back, our country was virtually bankrupt at that time. Government was borrowing just to pay salaries. Tens of thousands were without jobs. Wages for public officers were frozen. The economy was shrinking, and the times were desperate. Things have changed dramatically, as we promised they would. Every day since you gave us that massive vote of confidence, my colleagues and I have worked to deliver on Plan Belize and to maintain your trust. The results are clear across our cities, towns, and villages. Belizeans are working, earning higher wages. Productivity has soared, expanding the economy. Hundreds of millions in new private sector investments have spawned development. and public funds are being invested wisely in areas that matter most to you: healthcare, education, streets, drains, roads, housing, and citizen security. These unprecedented results were delivered without any new taxes. Plan Belize is making good on its pledge to national transformation. With this sterling report card in hand, and after careful reflection and prayer, I have decided that now is the appropriate time to seek from you a renewal of our electoral mandate. Earlier, I advised the Governor General to dissolve the National Assembly today and to appoint Wednesday, March 12th, 2025 as the date for general elections. Nomination day for candidates in all 31 constituencies is to be February 24th, 2025. I encourage all Belizeans to vote. Election day is your chance, a chance to be cherished, where in free and fair elections, you choose the person and the party that can best represent your interests. When you consider crucial factors such as performance, qualification, stability, character, and the political party's state of readiness, I sincerely believe that our People's United Party, our 31 candidates, and our Plan Belize are clearly worthy of your vote.
The steps towards the March 12th elections include, first, the dissolution of the National Assembly, which began today, February 11th, with an official letter from the Prime Minister to the Governor General, Dame Fryla Zalam. And then 2 weeks later, on Monday, February 24th, nomination day will be held for candidates across the country, followed by election day 2 weeks later. Important to note, however, is that even though Parliament is dissolved, the Constitution provides that the Prime Minister and his ministers retain the power of government up until the election. Section 84(6) reads, quote, "During the period between the dissolution of the National Assembly and the appointment of a Prime Minister after a general election, the government of Belize shall continue to be administered by the Prime Minister and the other ministers and ministers of state for the government." While the official date for the general election was announced today, a legal injunction has also been placed to halt the Belizeans from going to the polls, citing the absence of a constitutionally mandated redistricting exercise. The announcement of the election date comes amid ongoing discussions regarding the need for redistricting. The Belize Peace Movement, BPM, and other more recent advocacy groups have spoken out about their concerns, citing redistricting as a constitutional requirement before any new election. The claimants on this legal proceeding, which include Jeremy Enriquez, Rudolph Norales, and Jessica Tulsi, argued that moving ahead with the elections without having electoral boundaries withdrawn would violate the principle of equal representation, which is stipulated in Belize's constitution. These parties are attempting to stop the election process from moving forward before a redistricting process is completed and sought prior notice from the Prime Minister before announcing the date for the elections to ensure that they would have been able to apply for an injunction to prevent such announcement from happening. The Prime Minister, however, refused the request, and in a release issued today, Jeremy Enriquez, one of the claimants, says, "Following yesterday evening's refusal of our request, we immediately filed an application for an injunction to restrain the Prime Minister from calling elections until the electoral boundaries are withdrawn in compliance with Section 90 of the Constitution." Since then, we have been anxiously awaiting an emergency hearing from the Honorable Chief Justice and the Registrar to allow us the opportunity to be heard by the court in the public interest. Despite this pending legal action, the Prime Minister has proceeded to dissolve Parliament and announced that general elections will occur on March 12, 2025, end quote. Their claim includes an injunction against the Prime Minister directing him to revoke his advice to the Governor General to dissolve the National Assembly and appoint a date for the general election of members to the House of Representatives, pending the hearing and determination of their claim. Secondly, an injunction prohibiting the Governor General from making a proclamation for the holding of general election, and also an injunction prohibiting the Governor General from issuing the writ for the holding of election. In an interview with the media today, Enriquez says that while their injunction was not made before the announcement of the election date, their hope is that the courts will consider their case even at this time.
The letter that we received from Courtney and Associates, from Senator Courtney or his law firm, on behalf of the Attorney General, we received that letter yesterday evening. And so last night, when we realized that there would have been no warning by the Prime Minister, we worked into the night to file an injunction. And so we did file in the court's portal last night, hoping that this morning by around 8:30 or so, we would have some kind of response. But unfortunately, we learned that there was some problem with the portal and we had to get some printed documents into the court. And so to get 400 pages printed took a while, and we were a little late in filing. But it's disappointing, but at the same time, it shows the country, the entrenched system that we have, very deeply entrenched system. And not only that it is entrenched, but that there is strong resistance and insistence to having the status quo remain. But I'm still hopeful that the judges are reviewing the situation, and we'll see what happens from there. So the bottom line is that there has been no resolution up to this point to the redistricting, and we're entering an illegal election with all the gross, severe malapportionment of electoral divisions.
An official date for this hearing has not yet been determined. However, the claimants expect to receive some form of notice from the court on the matter later this week. As Belize prepares for its upcoming elections on March 12th, 198,381 registered voters will head to the polls, but significant disparities in constituency sizes have sparked concerns over electoral fairness. With an average constituency size of 6,399 voters, the differences between the largest and smallest divisions are striking, raising questions about the equitable representation of citizens. The constituency of Stand Creek West stands out as the most populous, boasting 10,446 registered voters, a staggering 63% above the national average. Conversely, Mesopotamia is the least populated constituency with only 2,237 registered voters, representing a substantial 65% below the national mean. This stark contrast results in a variance ratio of 4.7 to 1. Candidates in larger constituencies such as Belmopan, 10,154 voters, and Belize Rural South, 10,053 voters, face the challenge of reaching a more broader electoral compared to their counterparts in smaller divisions like Queen Square, 2,607 voters, and Albert, 2,756 voters. As the countdown to the elections continue, the debate surrounding constituency sizes and the fairness of electoral processes is expected to continue. In a marathon session that spanned over 8 hours, Friday's House meeting resulted in a significant financial move for the nation's healthcare system. The House unanimously approved the writing off of $50 million in debt at the Carl Houston Memorial Hospital, KHMH, a decision aimed at bolstering the government's commitment to providing free public health care services. Minister of Health and Wellness Kevin Bernard passionately defended the decision, stating that it aligns with the government's recent initiative to eliminate all costs associated with public hospital services for citizens.
I stand before you to announce with great pride that our Cabinet has given its approval for the Carl Houston Memorial Hospital Authority to proceed with the write-off of $54 million in uncollected debts, specifically for the period April 2009 to March 2022. Madam Speaker, this amount includes debts accrued during the challenging COVID years, a time when many of our citizens face unprecedented hardships. This is Plan Belize at work, Madam Speaker. This decision is much more than just a financial adjustment. It represents a profound and immediate relief for thousands of Belizeans who have struggled under the weight of these debts. By removing these debts, Madam Speaker, we are lifting a heavy cloud that has lingered over the heads of our citizens. This initiative reaffirms our government's pledge to prioritize the health and well-being of all residents.
36-year-old Armando Villanueva has avoided jail time after pleading guilty to arson for burning down a San Pedro Town Council storeroom which housed various items belonging to the Belize Tourism Board BTB. Villanueva's plea bargain was accepted by the court, and instead of facing a prison sentence, he was ordered to pay compensation and a fine. Villanueva, who is currently serving a 16-month prison sentence for a separate robbery conviction, appeared in court in the presence of his attorney, Dale Cayetano, before Justice Candice Nanton. The charges stem from a fire that destroyed the storeroom and its contents, including beach umbrellas, wheelbarrows, and rakes, all owned by the government of Belize. As part of his plea agreement, Villanueva has agreed to pay the San Pedro Town Council $5,862.85 in compensation and $5,262.21 fine to the BTB. Should he fail to make the payments, he will face an additional 2 years and 6 months in prison. The court has given Villanueva until January 26, 2029 to make these payments, taking into account his current incarceration. The incident occurred on January 6, 2025, when an eyewitness, a security guard working at Boca del Rio Park, reported seeing Villanueva at the park earlier in the day. The guard had removed Villanueva from the park after he was seen breaking a bottle and being disorderly with a group of men. Later that evening, Villanueva allegedly threatened to burn down the storeroom. Around 10:30 p.m., the guard noticed smoke coming from the storeroom and discovered the building had been set on fire. Villanueva was later found hiding in a nearby abandoned area. Villanueva's plea agreement was entered into on February 6, 2025 under the Act 12 of 2024, which was enacted in June 2024 and allowed him to avoid jail time for the arson charge. His next step is to meet the financial obligations set by the court to avoid additional imprisonment. Coming up next, government to clear criminal records for over 2,500 charged with COVID-19 and cannabis offenses. Stay tuned.
Come we ready, ready. Everybody, body. Shout out, PUP. All the way, all the way.
Belizeans, you as asked for it, and here it is.
Shout it out, PUP, all the way, all the way.
Together, we prepare to march to another big victory for your People's United Party in General Elections 2025. Calling all our PUP faithful from across the country. Join us at the Belize Civic Center on Sunday, February 16th for a massive music fest and convention rally where we will endorse the party leader, his executive, and all the delegates of the People's United Party. Come hear from your 31 dynamic candidates that will deliver victory for all Belizeans, led by the man who brought us Plan Belize, PUP leader John Briceño. It all kicks off at 11 a.m. on Sunday, February 16th, with music and performances from Ernestine, Consigo, Roxy, all the way from Sugar City, Yastalia, TR Shine, and many others. Make everybody know, Belize the right pan track with the PUP. We'll see you there.
And answer the call for the only party working for us all in this country. It's the PUP.
35-year-old Kranisha DeJohn Gaynor, a hairstylist, and her husband William Jarrod Gaynor, a barber instructor from Texas, found themselves in legal trouble after arriving in Belize for a vacation. The couple, who had come to the country to celebrate Kranisha's 36th birthday, were arrested on February 7, 2025 at the Philip Golson International Airport after customs authorities discovered 6 grams of cannabis inside Kranisha's suitcase. The couple, who had been in custody since their arrival, appeared before Chief Magistrate Jayani Wegadalpola in Court Number 1 this morning, where they were jointly charged with the importation of a controlled drug. Both initially pleaded guilty to the charge. However, William Gaynor later took full responsibility, telling the court, "It wasn't her, it was me." He explained that the marijuana was his and that his wife was unaware of it. Despite Kranisha also pleading guilty, the prosecutor withdrew the charge against her, and the court accepted Williams' guilty plea. As a result, William was fined $300 plus a $5 court fee, which he was ordered to pay immediately to avoid 2 months in prison. William, having the money in hand, paid the fine without delay. The cannabis was found by customs officers in a plastic container marked ice cream inside the suitcase, which had the Southwest Airlines tag bearing Kranisha's name. The couple was hoping to celebrate Kranisha's birthday in Belize, but instead, their vacation plans were interrupted by legal issues. Over 2,500 Belizeans who have been charged with offenses related to COVID-19 regulations and cannabis possession offenses will have their criminal records cleared. This comes through an undertaking by the government of Belize, which began in 2024. Prime Minister John Briceño made the announcement in Friday's House sitting. This undertaking includes over 2,200 persons charged with COVID-19 offenses, while 500 others are due to cannabis offenses. Of these persons, over 700 find themselves behind bars due to their failure to pay the fines imposed under the regulations. These persons, according to the Prime Minister, do not deserve to be in prison, and our country doesn't need to be paying for their criminalization.
Today is an unprecedented day. I take honor, Madam Speaker, to report to this honorable House and to the nation what is unquestionably a memorable and high point in the history of this nation. I am pleased to report that over 2,500 first-time offenders, persons having a conviction for a COVID-19 offense or possession of cannabis but have no other criminal offense, will have the fines they were ordered to pay to be remitted, and their criminal records thereafter be expunged, to be removed, for it to be a thing of the past. This being gazetted, this being achieved by the gazetting earlier this morning of instruments of remissions that were signed by Her Excellency, the Governor General, on the advice of my government. This, Madam Speaker, was done in fulfillment of this administration's commitment to reforming the justice system and the criminal justice system. We continue to deliver on Plan Belize. Now,
the lengthy process to get these criminal records expunged began in early 2024, according to the PM, and that concludes the commitment made by his government to reforming the criminal justice system.
the policy decision and reason was informed by the experts, including the Bar Association, whose president wrote the government back in 28 February 2024, pointing out that there was, and I quote, no utility to society for keeping them at the central prison, end of quote. At that time, there were 70 prisoners who were incarcerated as a result of their failure to pay the fines ordered by the court for breaches of COVID-19 regulations. But as further pointed out by the Bar Association, this could not be an effective use of the prison system, that is confining people to prison when their only infraction would have been an offense that was no longer in the law books or on the law books. For COVID-19 offenses, as we know, Madam Speaker, they have been removed from our laws for a couple of years now. Similarly, there can be no good reason to have a first-time offender, a person who has no other criminal record, to be imprisoned for the possession of cannabis. And so, with the need for a change, this led to my government's crafting, moving, and enacting critical criminal justice reform laws last year, such as the Alternative Sentencing Act and the before-mentioned the Criminals Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Act. It also led to an initiative, which is why I'm here today making this statement, in which my government advocated to the Governor General to exercise her powers under the Summary Jurisdiction Procedure Act to remit the fines of those over 2,500 first-time offenders who were convicted of either a COVID-19 offense or convicted of possession of cannabis. The data showed, Madam Speaker, that the government would have spent far less had these people not been incarcerated for non-payment of fines owing, because locking them up is a far greater cost than the fines that they were ordered to pay.
Maria Rodriguez is poised to be appointed as the new Auditor General of Belize, pending confirmation from the Governor General. Rodriguez will take over from Dorothy Bradley after the House of Representatives approved her appointment during a contentious debate on Friday. Yesterday, the Senate took up the matter, highlighting various concerns regarding the implications of her appointment. With Rodriguez's contract being for 22 years, Senator Glenfield Dennison, who represents trade union and civil society, expresses willingness to support Rodriguez's appointment, but suggested that it may be more prudent to consider a fixed term until she reaches the retirement age of 65. Conversely, Business Senator Kevin Herrera voiced his support for Rodriguez's nomination, but placed blame on the Office of the Accountant General for neglecting to submit the governmental accounts for review.
The determination for seniority, as it stands for public officers generally, is something that really needs to be looked at in depth. In important offices like the Auditor General, as I like to call Fort Branch institutions, safeguard institutions, it's very important that qualifications and experience play a very important part in your upward mobility, but even more so, what is important are performance appraisals. This is how the people of Belize get to know that the people that they are paying in these offices are doing what they are hired to do, and that their competence is being tested and periodically reviewed. We are constitutionally required to recommend to the Governor General who becomes the Auditor General. That is not a function that is before anyone else. And I, without the benefit of understanding or participating in the procedure, but even more so, Madam President, I have absolutely no point of reference for Maria Anel Rodriguez. I was not furnished with her resume. I was not furnished with her qualifications. I was not furnished with anything other than my little Google searches on who she was.
Support for Rodriguez's appointment also came from Church Senator Moses Benguche, who notably changed his stance from last December when he opposed her appointment as acting Auditor General. In a groundbreaking move for environmental stewardship and cultural preservation, Belize has officially launched its first cave management policy during a special ceremony held at St. Herman's Blue Hole National Park. The policy aims to protect the natural and geological beauty of Belize's caves while ensuring responsible tourism practices for visitors. The initiative is the result of a collaborative effort involving the Ministry of Education, Science, Technology and Culture, the Institute of Archaeology, and the National Institute of Culture and History, NICH. Minister of Education Francis Fonseca emphasized that the primary objective of the policy is to safeguard the cave's invaluable resources.
Well, the whole objective and purpose of the cave management policy is really to put in place really a foundation for the protection, preservation, management, sustainable use of our cave systems. We have wonderful, magnificent caves across our country. And so there's been a discussion ongoing for a very long time to make sure that we find the right balance. Obviously, as you know, tourism is very important to our economy. So we are happy to welcome visitors to Belize and to give them access to these beautiful archaeological sites. But we have a great responsibility and duty, especially at the National Institute of Culture and History and the Institute of Archaeology in particular, to make sure that we're putting in place policies that ensure the sustainable use of those resources. So the right balance, that's our duty and obligation, to make sure that we have these caves for future generations of Belizeans to come. So that's really the objective. And we put in place a few months ago the legal foundation to make this possible. As you know, we amended the NICH Act to give more powers to the director of the Institute of Archaeology, to enable the Institute of Archaeology to collaborate with stakeholders like PACT and FCD and Audubon to make sure that we can work together to manage these assets and these resources.
With this policy, will more caves open up for people to explore?
That's a possibility. That's a part of the plan, but we want to do it, as I said, in a very responsible, sustainable way, so that our people, the Belizean people, but also visitors to our country, can enjoy these natural resources, but do so responsibly and within specific guidelines and rules.
Director of the Institute of Archaeology, Melissa Badillo, highlighted the timeliness of the policy, which establishes guidelines that facilitate balanced tourism and ensure that visitors can explore the caves in a safe and responsible manner.
And one of the things that have spiked up in recent years has been caves and cave visits and stuff like that. But we only have 3 caves legally opened by the Institute of Archaeology that we manage countrywide. And there is much interest in visiting other caves. And in fact, other caves have been used and utilized for these purposes. However, the cave management policy is really the first legal framework that we have put in place now that can sort of regulate and guide how this is being done and ensuring that we are doing our job from multiple perspectives in the sense of preserving and protecting these resources, but giving opportunity for visitors to have that cave experience and outdoor adventure tourism experience in a safe and responsible manner. Definitely it is a challenge. We can't make, while the cave policy speaks to larger management and the framework for it, each case will be, on its own, developing that co-management agreement with whichever stakeholder, whether it's an NGO or some private entity, as each cave system is completely different and unique. And so we will have to take different things into consideration. The policy now classifies caves into different categories, and each will have its own restrictions or guidelines then that we will develop a further management agreement that will have the details in there. It will be a little bit before you start seeing some of these things, but definitely safety is the number one priority in there, and ensuring that the cultural materials that are found within caves are protected to the highest level. Along with that, we want to also ensure that the natural features of caves are being protected. We want people to get in there and to have that experience, but at the same time, we have to do it responsibly in ensuring that we have as minimal impact as possible, whether it's to the natural features or the cultural features.
The Belize Youth Movement Curacao chapter is set to host a special event this Saturday at Chactamal Plaza, inviting the community to an evening filled with positive entertainment and meaningful dialogue. Themed The Voice for Peace, Youth United Against Violence, the event aims to engage local youth and promote peaceful coexistence in the community. The organizers from the Curacao chapter appeared on today's edition of The Spirit of Belize, set to share details about the event.
It came from the BYM group because, as you may know, the Belize Youth Movement is all about young people, and we want to integrate our young people and have something positive for them out there so they can feel, the vibes of being part of our community.
We have a variety of speakers at night, youths from our community, vibrant youth leaders, persons who had been in BYM prior, and now they are a sitting councillor or a mayor or a candidate right now, or even a minister, a sitting minister. So we'll have a variety of speakers that night, hoping to inspire youths from our community. So we're inviting even Orange Rock to come along. Okay. It's going to be a fun event. We're going to have lots of entertainment. But we want for them to take this positivity. We want, we're not promoting nothing about alcohol usage or anything. We want to strictly be positive, and we're going to have along at that night, we're going to have even youths having youth entrepreneurs having this pop-up on the side as well, selling their products, selling things that they have been doing in the community to make a living. And so we're also trying to integrate this along with our event.
Scheduled to kick off at 6 p.m. and running until 2 a.m., this exciting event will feature a range of activities, presentations, and performances, culminating in a surprise show for attendees. Importantly, all festivities will be alcohol-free, ensuring a safe environment for families and youth to enjoy the night together. And there is more news after the break. Stay tuned.
Hi, my Orange Kenyos. Have you considered why areas of our town flood easily? It's no secret that developing areas in our town flood easily due to clogged drains full of garbage and debris. By properly disposing of waste, we ensure free flow in our drains, preventing flooding in developing areas. I thank you as we ask for your support.
Prepárate para la acción de la Premier League en la aplicación Max, disponible a través de Centar. No te pierdas ningún gol. Vive cada partido. Sumérgete en profundidad, entrevistas a jugadores y análisis de expertos. Disfruta del deporte en cualquier momento y en cualquier lugar con la aplicación Max. Para más información, llama al 380-0101.
Keeping our beautiful town of Orange Walk clean is everyone's responsibility. Use sturdy bags, tie them securely, and avoid placing sharp objects inside. By properly bagging your garbage, you're not only making it easier for our sanitation workers, but also helping to prevent litter and keep our environment clean. Let's work together to make a difference. For large disposals, contact us for an evaluation.
Belize is represented at the International Civil Aviation Organization ICAO 2025 Global Implementation Support Symposium by Kennedy Carrillo, CEO in the Ministry of Blue Economy and Disaster Risk Management, to advance Belize's candidature to the ICAO Council 2025-2028. The Global Implementation Support Symposium GIST brings together ministers, directors of civil aviation, and key aviation stakeholders from various regions to address resource mobilization, global challenges, and their impact on air transportation. The 2025 GIST focuses on advancing ICAO's No Country Left Behind initiative and setting new long-term strategic goals. GIST 2025 is also introducing an innovative feature, the Global Sustainable Aviation Marketplace. This new track will offer a dedicated space for stakeholders to explore and engage in innovative solutions and strategies for enhancing sustainability in aviation. Belize's candidature to the ICAO Council, the highest governance mechanism for civil aviation worldwide, will increase Belize's visibility as a key partner in sustainable, environmentally viable, and vibrant aviation industry. In a strongly worded letter sent to the Election and Boundaries Commission EBC on February 10, 2025, the legal team representing Moses Shine Barrow and senior members of the United Democratic Party UDP has called for a public clarification regarding recent reports on ballot designations for the upcoming 2025 general elections. The letter, penned by attorney Christopher P. Malcolm, specifically challenges claims made in a recent hot off-the-press article that suggested the EBC had recognized two factions of the UDP and will allow both to use the traditional red party color on official ballots. This move is seen as a potential victory for Tracy Tigger Panton, who has been contested by Barrow's camp as an illegitimate claimant to UDP leadership. The UDP legal team disputes the claims made in the article, stating that such a decision would be beyond the constitutional powers of the EBC and could influence ongoing court proceedings. A High Court ruling on Panton's UDP membership status is scheduled for March 31, 2025. Malcolm urges the EBC to refrain from interfering in the party's internal dispute, citing the need to maintain public confidence in the electoral process. Malcolm emphasized that he does not believe the EBC has taken the actions described in the article, but nonetheless called for an immediate public clarification to avoid spreading misinformation that could undermine democracy and bring the EBC into disrepute. The UDP legal team has requested a response from the Commission without delay. The controversy highlights the high stakes surrounding the upcoming elections and the internal divisions within the UDP. As the country prepares for the 2025 general elections, this issue underscores the need for transparency and accountability from electoral authorities to maintain public trust in the democratic process. And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Wednesday, February 12th here on Ctv3 News and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at ctv3belizenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/ctv3belizenews or our YouTube channel. From all of us here at Ctv3 News, thank you for watching and listening. Good night.